Hey, I'm Hammeh, hope you're good. Today I'm sharing my thoughts about balance of heroes in Overwatch, how we as players perceive hero and game balance, along with whether we should even cry nerf and buff in the first place, and if Overwatch can ever be truly balanced, and why, if it's not 100% possible, that's actually okay in my book. What got me thinking about this in more detail were some highly opinionated comments on both sides of the fence regarding a video Stylosa, Unit Lost, released about his views on the balanced state of Mercy currently in September 2016, along with her seemingly omnipresence in play of the games and the mix of reaction there was. For the record, this isn't a response or reaction vid. I agree with some points he makes and disagree completely with others. But what it did make me think about is how we as players of Overwatch and other games perceive and talk about balancing, and the challenges that game developers we love face in doing so. By thinking about this all in a bit more depth and applying it to our Overwatch experience, I think it can help us as a community give the best possible feedback to Blizzard, both now and in future, so we can help build a game that thrives for years to come. First up, when we think about this fabled creature called balance, we need to leave useless baggage at the door, and by that I'd say that when thinking about character balance, leave play of the game out of your thinking. A hero getting loads of play of the games, although it puts that hero forefront of people's minds as being powerful, isn't actually a solid indicator of hero balance. This is because of how the mechanic works. It has its own algorithm based off player actions, which rewarded points, which are compared at the end of the match. Mercy, for example, has recently been tuned up in the points awarded for reses. She scores enough reses, she'll get play of the game more often than not right now, but that's an algorithmic problem, not a hero balance problem. Tune down the points awarded in these calculations for a res, Mercy's no longer getting play of the games all the time. Easy stuff. The problem in my view sometimes is that we feel like play of the game is a reflection of character balance or strength, when it's actually not, or not at least directly in all situations that Blizzard has to think about for balancing a hero. Jeff Kaplan has already said on the forums they're looking at Mercy and also shared some interesting stats as to who gets most play of the games in quick play and competitive since patch 1.3. Now Mercy's already been mentioned as an outlier when you take a look at these, but what was also interesting is Jeff saying that the others felt balanced relatively, and what that actually means I think for our perception of Overwatch. I think this gives us a great example when you look at it of what I'm going to call play of the game bias. Play of the game is a great moment in any game or longer match, it's fun to watch and people's last impression of a game, it gives great highlights and can cement this feeling of sweet success or compound a loss in many players' emotional perceptions of how a game's gone. The danger is of course that people take those feelings and transfer them onto their opinion of a hero's balance. Take a look at the list Jeff gave again. Note that the quick play top 3 are Bastion, Genji and Torbjorn. Now these are 3 heroes the community on a wider level has called for tweaks to, and in many cases outright nerfs to, in some way or another even since beta. They've all actually received changes, yet still they're scoring most play of the games in quick play. To me there's definitely a tie between people's perception of the play of the game frequency and how balanced a hero is. Let's take a quick look at these 3. Bastion is not an imbalanced hero in my opinion. If anything, it's kind of the other way around. It's been unusable really in competitive high level play or esports for quite some time now. In quick play however, it's an entirely different thing. Bastion can stomp if supported by its team or if it's failed to be dealt with by teamwork from the enemy team, and I think this is part of what leads to the perception. As for Genji, well, he's certainly strong in good hands. Just look at the Seagulls of this world. Very high profile character in the amount of play that he saw from top streamers, and did require I think some balancing, but he's now been vastly reduced in his most recent tweak, way beyond the level that perhaps he needed in my opinion. A shadow of his former self. Blizzard have removed his animation cancelling, which is one of the things that gave Genji a bit of a higher skill cap, or more ability for players to learn, demonstrate and grow their skill with a hero. A little bit of a loss there in my opinion. Torbjorn is like Bastion I think, nigh on useless in any high level competitive game and never really seen in esports. I sigh a lot in general when I get a Torbjorn on my team in any solo queue competitive. Hey, I'm happy to be proved wrong, but most of the time it doesn't work out very well. Again, in quick play, it's different. Torbjorn used to be hard to deal with when, like Bastion, his team properly backed him up or the enemy team didn't deal with him. Again, this is a teamwork thing. Now, of course, I'm talking PC here. On console, Torbjorn was down-tuned, different balancing for different platforms, which is a great thing in itself. For these 3 heroes, there's definitely a gap between perception of their overall balance within the game and actual reality when you look at the entire game. For me, that's quick play, where multiple of same heroes are allowed, competitive in-game, and that, of course, has the factors of varying degrees of skill, communication, and group size, and then finally at the top rung, eSports, professional level, regular 6v6 team play. In conclusion, a hero getting lots of play of the games can be a symptom of a character being popular, strong in the current metagame, or perhaps some kind of imbalance maybe, but it does not automatically mean that the character is overpowered or indeed needs nerfing. We need to be careful with that. Next up, how do we perceive balance? Now, balance discussions always go around in circles in any performance-focused competitive games or gaming communities. In short, where people are striving to improve, to win, or win better in some fashion. Note that I'm not just saying Overwatch or FPS or even PvP, player versus player games here. Before you cry nerf or buff the next time, I want you to challenge your own perception of balance. From what viewpoint are you seeing the game? Do you play on console or PC? What game mode do you play most often? At what skill level would you put yourself? Do you play grouped or solo? Do you use a microphone or not? My point here is that there are a lot of different experiences of Overwatch people can have. We perceive a game's balance through our own playing viewpoint and opinion of it quite a lot of the time, and to a degree, our personal attitude, feelings about the game, and skill level maybe a bit as well. Here's a quick cross-game example. In World of Warcraft, take say the state of healing classes at a particular time. I used to PvP, 2v2 and 3v3 arena at one stage. People said at this time that druids were imbalanced as arena healers. They had heals over time, they could move a lot. Their whole package and kit felt so strong that in arenas you pretty much always see druids healing teams. I was a low-level arena player. This was my only experience of arena, so to me, at that time, it felt that druids were overpowered. If I then went into battlegrounds, not the small numbers of arena and fighting on a much larger scale, I didn't really care about druids at all. I was too busy running around being sneaky or just mind controlling people as a priest and throwing them off cliffs. Good times, but I digress. In raiding in World of Warcraft, you'd have another balanced perspective entirely. Shaman chain healing at one point. I think this was all in the Burning Crusade, correct me if I'm wrong, WoW fans, was nuts in that area, and other healers felt very weak in comparison. So 3 different situations, 3 different perceptions as to what's in balance, yet all in one single game. I know there's a difference there between player versus player and fighting a raid boss, player versus entity, but carry it over to Overwatch. This is an example of selective perception, or a form of cognitive dissonance. We're more likely to perceive situations based on our experiences, our situation, and our frames of reference and feelings. If we go back to our top 3 play of the games and their perception, in quick play or low-level competitive, I might feel, for example, that Bastion is unbalanced because that's all I've seen. It's steamrolled me, I've always played in teams that have never managed to counter it, and as a result, maybe I feel the same about Genji and Torbjorn. It may not reflect on my ability, it may not reflect on my skill, it may just be solely from my experience. However, in other levels of play, these might not even be an issue, or they might even be more of an issue than they are in my level. Take my friend in high level competitive, however. They may never see a Bastion or a Torbjorn, but they may be more concerned about Mercy's res. And then up at the top tier of play in eSports, another person might be very used to playing with and against Mercy res pushes. That's the normal meta for them and they're very used to that state of the game. But what they might be concerned about is, say for example, Widowmaker's ability to quickscope and slaying lower hit point flanking characters like Tracer in one shot. Again, this is a past example. Let's of course not forget our friends on console. They had horrible feelings about Torbjorn's turret, which is the easiest example to hand, until that was tuned down in a patch. Remember, we're all Overwatch players together. The next time you're thinking about whether a hero is too strong or too weak, have a little think. Is it something to do with your particular situation of play? It may not be anything to do with your skill, it may just be to do with the level that you play at, the frequency at which you play, or indeed the game mode within which you play. So next up, how could balancing potentially work and not work for Overwatch? Well, we've just gone through several different perceptions of Overwatch. Let's say the quick player, the competitive solo queuer or group player, and the esports player as being 3 or 4 pretty simple groups. Now, big question, how can Blizzard balance for all of these groups at the same time? The short answer is, it's pretty hard to keep everyone happy all the time, and I think we should be realistic about that as a community. As a quick back to WoW example, the way that the game used to be, Blizzard could not make easy changes in World of Warcraft to balance for everything at the same time. Let's say I'm a priest. You couldn't change a priest easily way back when just to affect a hero's performance in Arena, but not Battlegrounds, or in PvP without affecting PvE in some ways. This was just the way that the game and characters were designed at the time. Changes could have big knock-on effects across the board. Now, World of Warcraft has PvP specific talents which can help with this PvP wise, as well as some other pretty sweet Legion changes. I'm loving playing that at the moment, by the way. But it wasn't always that easy, and we need to consider Overwatch in a similar frame of reference. Take Newton's third law for you physicists or people who have looked at that in grade school or primary school. Every action has an equal and opposite reaction. When thinking about balance, I think you need to shrink that down for Overwatch a bit to every action is going to have some form of reaction, and then look at balancing heroes in that light. A change doesn't happen in a vacuum. I tried to think of an analogy for balancing 22 heroes. Here's the best I could come up with. Think of a seesaw with 2 heroes on. The heroes are linked as counters as their one common factor. That's why they're on that seesaw. Let's put Pharah on one side and McCree on the other. If I change McCree's accuracy at longer ranges, I'm doing 2 things. Nerfing, let's use the term weakening perhaps from now on, McCree in a certain situation is also going to buff, strengthen again from now on, Pharah. Hit scan heroes such as McCree pluck Pharah out of the sky, so their loss is going to be Pharah's gain. If they're weaker against Pharah, she's going to be able to be played more with less danger to her life. Soldier 76 is similarly picked to deal with Pharah sometimes, so anything that affects McCree will also affect him. Indeed, we've actually seen this precise balancing challenge come into play recently, with McCree's range and Soldier 76 accuracy tweaks made in patches, meaning that Pharah dropped out of being played as much as she was before. Now that is just one set of heroes pivoting around one factor on the seesaw. Try and multiply this firstly by all the different factors and mechanics, apart from hard counters that heroes have, like their individual abilities, team compositions, maps, situations, and so many more. Then take all of those and multiply those situations again by the amount of heroes and the ways in which they can interact with each other. That's a whole lot of cause and effect. This is why we should never just say nerf Mercy or buff Bastion. It's just not that simple. Whatever changes are made, there'll be other changes and effects that might not be seen or turn up until a little while on or even later on. So, if balancing is so complicated, can Overwatch ever be balanced? The question that I addressed in the title of this video. Personally, I think no, not perfectly. But that's nothing bad, and indeed, there's nothing inherently wrong with that in my opinion. Perfectly balanced games are very rare, and indeed hard to make. If a state close to perfect balance is achieved, it's probably only going to be interrupted at some point anyway, and for good reasons. Variety is the spice of life when it comes to competitive games. We want, as players, very often new challenges, new heroes, new maps, new skills, interactions, and many other things. And we have to accept that with new ideas comes new potential challenges and pitfalls. Heroes will come in and out of favour, heroes will be strong, weak and strong again, and the game will evolve as we go, and this has already happened since May in that short period of time. That's quite a good thing in my book. The game's not going to be getting stale. And this is why I think Mercy isn't actually unbalanced at the moment personally. We've just come out of a cycle where Lucio and Zenyatta dominated the metagame recently for supports in competitive and esports circles, and any tweaks to Mercy to down-tune her will just move us straight back to that. However, there were points in the last few months where Mercy was an S-class must-pick for the strength of her resin pushes, and indeed for some of the reasons Stylosa stated in his video. Then it was Mercy and Lucio as the major picks, with Zenyatta being trash. Zenyatta's then become too good with his Discord orb buff that's since been tuned back. Mercy was trash. Now Mercy's been tweaked again and she's making a comeback. This is the meta if you're not familiar with the concept. It's the wider trend of playability of heroes, team compositions and other things, based upon strength and weakness of heroes at any one point, creativity of teams and players, personal preference, esports and many other factors less and more significant than these. As Zenyatta would say, the wheel turns. The meta will change and that's the way we need to think of it. It's not necessarily a bad thing. Now, of course, there is a danger that too much balance can inhibit creativity, metagame, strategy making, and similar. The worry for players, of course, is either end of the spectrum. Too much new content is released too quickly, so the game is in such a continuous state of change, it's never in a state of playable balance. No, not perfect balance, but a playable balance, or a fixed meta for long enough for esports players and us to get used to and adapt to. On the other extreme, people don't want so little change that the game is stale, there's nothing new, and that any problems that do exist remain unbalanced for a long period of time. Now, personal opinion, Blizzard have shown that they are listening and reacting to community feedback on balance, and pretty rapidly, so we don't need to worry too much about that part right now. What I do think we could do is try and give them more of the right data and feedback in the right way so that they can make judgments. Being constructively critical is really important, giving them the information they need to do the job, whilst remembering that our viewpoint is a specific one. It's not going to be shared by every player, or in every game mode, or in every skill level. But it's still valuable and we should still give it. Finally, if Overwatch can't ever be balanced perfectly, Hammeh, I hear you say, then what should we do about it? Hopefully this video has highlighted that balancing is not an easy job, but we can really help. This game's still pretty young, and if we want it to be around for a long time, it's good to get in good habits now. Here's my quick thoughts to summarise everything we just talked about and how we can help make a difference in the future. Number 1, constructively criticise what's going on, but acknowledge that our perceptions are our own. Our views aren't always going to be the same or the truth for everyone who plays Overwatch, but that doesn't mean we shouldn't share our experiences with Blizzard and each other so that we can help make changes and give information to help them be made if need be. We should give good information and with data and context. The official forums, Reddit, we should go to these places and post in a long way, make videos if you want to take more time to give a longer opinion, but make sure that it's with context. Talk about how characters feel in specific situations. How Zenyatta feels for you in competitive after the changes, how Bastion remains to be in quickplay, the problems that Bastion may have in competitive. Giving this context as well as your opinion on the state of a hero gives everyone more of a feeling as to how heroes are working and more importantly in what areas they might be working or not. Last but not least, if you're on PC, use the PTR, use the public test realm. You can go into your client, you can switch to PTR and download it and play new patches before they go live. Blizzard tweet out and throw on the forums when a new patch is on public testing before it goes live, and by playing there, playing competitive, playing quick play, you give Blizzard data on what's working and what isn't. You can try new heroes, you can try new features and hero balances before anyone else sees them in some cases if they don't use PTR, so you get something pretty cool there. And then you also have the time to test and feedback as well. You're really helping make the game better for yourself and for everyone. Okay, lots of opinions there. That's a bit of a different video for me, so let me know what you think on the balance of Overwatch, Mercy, all the heroes that I mentioned, or anything else in the comments below. And equally, do let me know how you found this video. I know that my opinion is but one, it's not right, it's not wrong, and it's through my prism of a person who loves the game and plays at low to at best mid-level competitive. Remember, of course, all of our opinions are neither right nor wrong, neither better nor worse than anyone else's, but we should give them. Let's be constructive, and remember, we are all one within the iris. I'm Hammeh. Have a great day. Take it easy.